the summer with me. And he was abundantly clear that he wanted to, go to camp. And so this summer was shortened by a lot because of all the hard work and dedication he had put in. And he would call me all the time and say how many more push-ups, he could do than me now because of coach and strength training and everything. So he was really excited about doing football to be cut, extremely short because of this situation. He was one of the only ones that exceeded his $1,500 goal for, the football team, all to be cut short in the first week of school. And I just, I'm just frustrated and angry about this whole, situation and how it just seems like everybody's just going on with their life besides my son. He can't do regular things that he would normally do. And it's just, I don't know, it's just difficult to process. Matt, he called me. Father understands a bunch of empty promises. He told me he was going to get the FBI involved in all these things. I haven't seen anything, haven't heard anything. So we just want really justice for our son. And that's all I got to say about it.
We're here today because our son was hazed. He was sexually assaulted. They don't want to address that. They don't want to address the cyberbullying that has taken place. They just don't want to do it. And he has been an afterthought in this whole process. And that's the frustrating part about it. For something to happen to you and nobody cares. Nobody cares until mom and dad have to get involved. I gotta go to the school. I gotta go to the school board meeting. I gotta raise, saying holy whatever, just to get acknowledged. And just for somebody to say, hey, I wanna check on your child. None of that happened. All of the focus was on getting this football team back out and running. I was at that football meeting for all the parents of the kids that were not suspended. I sat there, I listened to all the parents about the band, the cheerleaders, was he really hazed, all of the questions that they were asking. And to me, I felt like the meeting was very disingenuous. And I'm not gonna talk about people's parents and parenting skills and their children. I get it. Football means a lot to people. They did do a lot to go with for the band and for the cheerleaders and all of that. I played sports my whole middle school, high school, college, even coached my son on a volunteer basis, playing basketball. So I understand the importance of sports. But when does a crime being committed, being completely humiliated, being put on social media, how does that get trumped by a football season? I'm not here to pass judgment on what should be ended and what should not, but it is very crazy to me that to hear the investigation is over, it's being completed. All we get is a generic email from the principal stating that the season, the investigation is over and JV and varsity football is back up and running. We got nothing. No reach out. Hey, these were the findings. This was nothing. Zero. I had to listen to Matt Susan at that same football meeting talk about how the importance of just making sure that the season is not canceled. We got to make sure that this is put out as this is an individual or isolated incident. Because if it's cultural, then that may prolong the season. It was just asinine to listen to that kind of stuff, and then for him to say, okay, one of my main priorities is to make sure that this investigation doesn't get dragged out. So who do you really care about? I know he talked about himself being a coach and he was a teacher and he was part of the community, but we were a part of the community too. As a resident of Viera.
Yes, you are.
So why didn't you care about me and mine? It is completely ridiculous. I had to file a You don't need to sell anybody on who you are. If you're a good person, you're a good person. You don't need to call a parent whose child was a victim of a crime that to me and us and all our family is trying to be covered up. And they thought we were going to go silent, but we are not. And then to try to say, oh, I have some things to tell you, but I can't share it with you. Well, if you can't tell me nothing officially, you don't have nothing to tell me, and you need to tell my lawyer. And then from that, it's the principal. I didn't know how to handle this type of situation. This is my first week. Well, it was our son's first week. Yes. Most of us in here are employed by somebody, right? So do you get to say if it's a catastrophic incident or a major event happens? Do you just get to say this was my first week? I know I can't. And then that's the excuse for not caring for the child in this situation, not looking out for the child in this situation first, instead of trying to address all of these other issues to me that are just not that important. It may be important to us. Our child is the first thing that is important to us and our whole entire family and the community that supports us. I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, to be on the phone, talking to a principal, to literally have to walk her through victim care and how to deal with parents in this type of situation. And their response is, oh, I can see why you're frustrated. Yes, you offer the resources in the beginning, not after you see me on the news. And the response, still, this was my first week. That the district doesn't give us the tools to handle this situation. And I don't think the district ever even experienced something like this. I don't know and don't care if the district ever dealt with it, but I'm pretty sure it's a policy or procedure somewhere in place. And if you don't know about it, then there's a bigger problem here. But compassion, treating somebody with dignity and respect, you don't need a rule book for that. Treated with dignity and respect for the whole ordeal, from the team that he was so passionately wanting to be involved in. He got friends, all of these things, these varsity players, they didn't treat him with the dignity and respect that he deserved, or the other students in there, the victims that don't want to come forward. Everybody's silent. We have had to do too much legwork just to get nothing. I have no answers. We have no answers. Whatever we hear is whatever is in the media. Every time I ask about the investigation, it's still ongoing. Just called the state's attorney's office yesterday. They still have not received the investigation. Wow. So what is over? What is completed? What is conducted? I would like to know. Our family would like to know. And clearly, the community would like to know. So I'm tired of the excuses. I don't want to hear anything about anybody's first week on the job. Same thing with the athletic director. After the school board meeting, oh, I was going to reach out to you. I probably should have reached out. Yes, that's the same sob story I've heard from everybody. Again, our child was an afterthought. It was getting the cheerleaders and everybody else back up and running. The concession stand sales. How these sales impact everything. Football. Again, I love sports. Love football. Wanted to see my son out there on the sidelines. But now he's scarred. Not sure if he ever wants to go back into a locker room again. We're constantly having these conversations about, we really don't want you to have to lose everything. Your teammates, your old teammates, they're back playing football. It's back to business as usual for them. But we're here left to pick up the pieces, trying to see if he just want to go back in the locker room again. And that's going to be a big step. We have reached out, we've got counseling services and things of that nature, for him. He's got a family. A family that supports him, a community that supports him. So we'll work through it. When it's his time, when he feels like he's ready to get back out there and play sports, we'll be there. But what I will not stand for is the complete disrespect that they have shown my family. I'm not going to stand for it. I'm not going to stand for no other parent or child just because they want to send their child to play football, and then guess what? They're not going to be supervised. Who thought about that? Who thinks about that when they send their child to practice? I didn't. We didn't. That they're going to be unsupervised for probably an hour and a half to 2 hours with any and everything happening in a locker room, at practice. When something happens on my watch, I'm held accountable. When my son does something wrong, he's held accountable by both of us. No matter where he lives, where I live, our co-parenting bond is strong. So regardless of whether Matt thought he was going to get to me and then get to him, it's not going to work. We're tired and we're frustrated. But as I said before, there's no timeline for justice. So if we have to keep going, if I have to keep getting out here, my family got to keep getting on the road, that's what we're going to do.
Thank you so much for coming today, Councilman Goins. He has been here with the family the whole time. The family has asked for you to share some words as well.
First of all, I would say this is not a city of Cocoa issue. Right? It's not a city of Rockledge issue. Right? This is a community issue. So regardless of where this took place, we all are responsible. And these kids are our family. No matter what color they are, the children are our most precious jewels. So first, I'd like to thank the family just for being here and doing this adverse situation. I don't think I can handle it as beautifully as y'all can. My daughter is a junior at Rockledge High School, and I can only imagine, what if this was a girl? What if this was a female, would we continue playing a sport? Right, I love football. Been coaching football now for 21 years. Played high school, played college. Do we continue playing a game when a child has been abused? Right? Is that what we do? Is that what our county is? I don't think that's what our county is. As you can see by the people sitting in this room today, this is not who our county is. I was an athlete at Rockledge High School. We did freshman day, right? Fun day. But we hid helmets. We hid cleats. We hid their car keys, right? To make them look all over the place, right? We didn't do acts such as this. This wasn't the fun day. This wasn't, let's make fun of this young freshman. No, this wasn't what that was. I know times have changed, but we can't change. So this situation confused me because I did have to go back to the 90s and remember what we did, what I did, right? I had to go back. And I just thought about how many times in our situation, was I coaching our locker room at all times? I can't say they was in there 100% of the time, but they always made rounds to make sure what we were doing, because our locker room and our coach's office was right around the corner from each other. So when they heard some loud noise, they was coming quickly. And so it's hard right now. I can't say that the coach knew about what was going to happen. I refuse to say that. But what I will say is, I do believe that he knew that there is a freshman day coming, right? But the kids probably didn't express to him every single thing that they were going to do to those freshmen. So regardless of the situation, going back to playing football within a few days is unacceptable. And our community is not going to stand for such situation like this where we just go back and business as usual. I don't think that's what we should do. I think we're better than this. I think we're a better community. I think we have a better school board. I believe we have better administrators. I believe we have great principals in our community. But right now, I'm kind of second guessing that. I'm second guessing who we are. Because people only can show by the fruits that you bear. And right now, our fruits don't look right. We have residents that are here that are not from Brevard County, right? So we have to take care of them. It doesn't matter their family names. It doesn't matter if they're not connected with who. It's irrelevant. Because when you move to Brevard County, when you move to our area, we are going to be here to have your back. Thank you to all the organizations are here, NAACP, so many other organizations that are here to support you. And I'm letting you know and letting the world know that we are here for you.
Thank you.
Regardless of what, I don't even know your child, but he's my child.
Amen.
Okay, well, at this time, I'd like to answer any questions from the press.
One question for me. Oh, okay. If you want, someone else can go real quick.
Just for clarification, did the sheriff's office tell you all that the investigation was over, or that it was ongoing, or?
Well,
I
we
heard a
believe
couple different
that
things.
the family and I have been on the phone with the deputy agent from the sheriff's department, and he asked some questions. And in my mind, if you're continuing to ask questions, you haven't made any conclusions. And so at that point, we like to think, at this point, that the investigation is ongoing. Certainly, we'd like to see some conclusion and definitely a follow-up from our state's attorney.
To your knowledge, what is the update on the coach? Because last we had heard was that he was relieved from his coaching duties, but was still employed as a PE teacher. Are you able to provide any insight as to if he's still working at the school?
Well, I can't speak on behalf of the high school, but that is the same thing that we understand, that he is currently a PE coach at the high school.
Brevard County Sheriff's Office is leaving this up to the state attorney's office to determine if any charges will be filed. What do you think needs to happen at this point?
Well, I think Sheriff Ivey, as a public official, I mean, he ran for office. He, as far as I'm concerned, he's responsible for answering those hard questions. And so if he's going to make an arrest, that's the sheriff's duty to make the arrest. And it's also the duty from the state's attorney's office to follow up the prosecution.
Sir, you mentioned a little earlier you guys will be pursuing charges. Can you speak with us a little bit more
Yeah,
about
sure.
that?
And what we mean by that is we want to make sure, and that's part of the reason why we're here today, to let Sheriff Ivey, as well as our state's attorney's office, know that the family is wanting this to happen. They would like for some charges to be brought. I'm not sure who all have seen this heinous, senseless video, but it's been broadcast all over social media. I think it had almost 8,000 or 9,000 views the last time that I checked. And so this is something that shouldn't be left alone. Hazing, sexual assault, cyberbullying, all of that. Harassment, those things are crimes. And the state's attorney's office has a duty to prosecute these crimes.
Have you at all considered charges against the school and how the district handled this?
Well, not only has the family asked me to make sure that we hold our sheriff's feet to the fire, but they've also asked me to investigate negligence on behalf of the school. Yeah.
I don't know if the family will be willing to answer a question, but I'm just wondering how their child is doing right now with going into school every day. Is their child going to school, or has he taken off?
Sure, I'll let the parents speak on that.
Yes, he is going to school. It was not in his interest. He didn't want to do homeschool. He didn't want to feel like he was isolated. And we agreed with that because he didn't do anything wrong. So yes, he is going to school every day.
Has there been any other? Has there been any other bullying that stemmed from the video circulating? I'm wondering if a lot of the people who go to that school have seen that video. Has he said anything, or is there anything you want to share about that?
I think in the beginning there were the questions of people just running up to him, trying to show him the video. Is this you? Were you raped? That was like the first few days, and I think like once the principal did do a video about hazing and telling people to stop talking about the investigation, and so that's when it kind of stopped with the rape questions.
You had mentioned that, my understanding was that your student has stopped football for now, correct?
Correct.
Can you explain for us, what is life like for your student without football? How important is this to him?
It's very important. To the point that he's still going to the gym at 5 in the morning. Is that important? So that's, I mean, he seems well lost without it. Because we used to talk about it a lot. You know. So scale 1 to 10.
And speaking,
Real quick, before I forget, for all of us, will you guys both please say and spell your first and last names, just so we don't all clear out before that?
Harry Taylor, Harry, middle initial E, last name Taylor, Taylor.
What does it say about the character of your son to go through something so traumatic and then still have the bravery to walk the school halls and still fight to possibly one day get back on the football team?
It speaks volume, because he wanted to stay at school. And it was a decision, you know, we had to make because of everything that was going on. That he's not at that school anymore. So it was, you know, he wanted to head held high, chest out. He wanted to continue to, he didn't want to run from it, which is, you know, what we taught him. So, you know, we had to make an executive decision, which he wasn't happy about. You know, obviously, to, you know, get into a school that, you know, we felt that would be in his best interest.
in speaking with your son and other parents, was this an isolated incident, or does it sound like this may have happened before?
Absolutely not.
As a matter of fact, sorry,
Yeah.
but certainly, given the acts in the video, this was not the first time that this has happened. It seemed as though these football players had prepared for this to happen. And so in order to prepare, there has to be prior discussions. And so we think that there is a culture within that football program that allowed this sort of environment. Definitely not to the level that, you know, probably was thought of, but it was certainly something that was encouraged by the football program.
What do you think else needs to happen at the district level? I know that they had some anti-hazing training just before they resumed football at Viera High School. What else needs to happen, especially if you believe there is a culture that allowed this to happen?
Absolutely. What needs to happen is our superintendent needs to make sure that this kind of act, these types of hazing, bullying, sexual assault, that there's no room for that in our schools. That's as simply as I can put it. You know, how do we create protocol and procedure? I'm not sure, but our superintendent asked for his job, and he should be the one to answer those questions.
Can you guys clarify real quickly, is he back at the same school or did he go to a new school?
No, he is
Thank
not
you.
at the same school.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor mentioned that he wanted justice. You want justice for your son. What exactly would justice be, in your opinion?
Honestly, for the, I guess it would be everybody involved to be held truly accountable, and not just because I looked at the little 10-minute video and you could tell the lack of empathy. You could tell that just, like I said, we need to get back to business. You know, nobody was going to be held accountable. Let's get, like I said, get the cheerleaders cheering, the band playing, the football team back playing. I mean, you could hear it. You could hear, you know, it's been an apology given to everybody but our son. And it was done in that video. You know, I don't even remember who she was. She apologized to the cheerleaders, the band, you know. So those people need to be held accountable.
What kind of punishment have the kids involved received ever since, other than that suspension for like 2 days?
The parents haven't been given any information as to what types of punishment has been handed down. We did hear that there may have been some suspensions, but that was only through what we learned in the media. If that's all the questions that you have, thank you again. We'd like to thank Minister Sims for inviting us to be here today in his beautiful church. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Oh, and before we clear out, just so we know, Anthony Thomas, A-N-T-H-O-N-Y, last name T-H-O-M-A-S, and mom. Do that again. Anthony Thomas, A-N-T-H-O-N-Y, T-H-O-M-A-S.
Agnes, A is in Victor, A is Nancy, E, S is in Sierra, E, Echo, Taylor, T-A-Y.